dive into today's episode, I just want to remind you to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us. It helps us grow, reach more amazing learners like you, and keep bringing you fresh and fun content every week. So don't forget, like, subscribe, and let's keep this journey going strong. Hello, brilliant idiom explorers, and a very warm welcome back to another insightful episode of Idiom Insights. I'm Emma, your enthusiastic guide, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you again, ready to delve into the fascinating nuances of some more common English phrases. Our goal here at Idiom Insights is always to make these often puzzling expressions clear and accessible. It's truly a pleasure to share this learning journey with you all as we navigate the colorful and sometimes quirky world of English idioms together.
And I'm Jack, your co-host and ever-curious word detective, here to help unravel the meanings and perhaps share a chuckle or two as we explore the rich, expressive landscape of idiomatic English. It's absolutely wonderful to be back in the Idiom Insights studio, Emma, and a massive hello to all our fantastic listeners tuning in from every corner of the globe. Thank you for joining us once again for another dose of idiom discovery and linguistic fun.
It's always such a joy, Jack. Today, we've carefully selected 4 incredibly useful and wonderfully vivid idioms that you'll undoubtedly encounter in everyday English conversations, in films, books, and online. Understanding these will not only significantly boost your comprehension of native speakers, but also provide you with more natural, nuanced, and expressive ways to communicate your own thoughts, feelings, and observations. These carefully chosen phrases cover unproductive activity, making significant mistakes, the act of giving permission, and even the potential benefits of not knowing certain things.
That sounds like a truly excellent and wonderfully varied mix for today's exploration, Emma. These are precisely the kinds of idioms that really add character, color, and depth to any conversation, making your English sound more fluent and engaging. So, without further ado, here are the 4 idioms we'll be diving into in this episode of Idiom Insights. First up, we have an idiom for those times when you're incredibly busy but seem to be achieving absolutely nothing. Chase your tail. Secondly, there's a common phrase for making a mistake or failing to do something important that was your responsibility. Drop the ball. Third on our list is an expression you'll often hear when someone gives permission or official approval for something to proceed. Give the green light. And finally, we'll look at a well-known proverb suggesting that not knowing about something unpleasant can, in fact, be better than knowing all the details. Ignorance is bliss.
Those are all fantastic and exceptionally common idioms, Jack. Each one paints a very clear mental picture and is used frequently across many different contexts. So understanding them thoroughly will be incredibly beneficial for our listeners as they engage in English conversations, watch English language media, and read contemporary texts. They really are part of the bedrock of everyday expressive English.
I couldn't agree more, Emma. They're all very practical and, I think, quite insightful into human behavior and common situations. And before we delve into the fascinating intricacies of our first idiom, a quick and sincere request from both of us here at Idiom Insights. If you're finding these episodes valuable for your ongoing English learning journey, and you genuinely enjoy our explorations into the world of idioms, please do take a brief moment to subscribe or follow our podcast on your preferred listening platform.
Yes, absolutely. Subscribing is undoubtedly the best way to ensure you don't miss any of our future idiom adventures and exciting linguistic discoveries. We have so much more planned. And if you're feeling extra supportive and generous with your time, a like or a positive rating on your podcast platform truly helps other English learners around the world discover idiom insights and join our growing community. We are so immensely grateful for your engagement and continued support. It genuinely fuels our passion for creating this content.
It genuinely makes a massive difference to us and to the visibility of the podcast. Thank you all so very much for being part of our wonderful Idiom Insights community. Right then, Emma, are you ready to tackle our first idiom, which, as you hinted, sounds rather dizzying and perhaps a little frantic?
Let's certainly do it. Our first idiom for this episode of Idiom Insights, a phrase that conjures up quite an image, is chase your tail.
Chase your tail. This immediately makes me think of a playful dog or a cat spinning around endlessly in circles, energetically trying to catch its own tail, but of course never actually succeeding. Is the meaning similar when we apply this rather amusing image to people, Emma?
That's exactly the image and the core meaning, Jack. You've hit the nail on the head. To chase your tail, or sometimes chase your own tail, means to be very busy doing a lot of different things, often simultaneously, but achieving very little or nothing of real substance or value. You are expending a considerable amount of energy and effort, perhaps rushing around from one task to another, but not making any tangible progress towards your main goals, much like an animal that can never actually catch its own elusive tail. It suggests a lot of motion without forward movement.
So it's fundamentally about frantic but ultimately unproductive activity. For instance, if someone has a huge to-do list, and they keep jumping from one task to another without truly finishing anything properly, perhaps getting distracted easily, and they feel incredibly busy, but at the end of the day haven't accomplished much of significance, they are definitely chasing their tail. They're caught in a whirlwind of tasks.
Precisely. That's a perfect everyday example. Or on a larger scale, if a company keeps changing its strategic direction every few months, launching new initiatives before the previous ones have been properly completed or evaluated, and therefore never really seeing any significant project through to a successful and fruitful conclusion, that company might accurately be described as chasing its tail. The idiom often implies an underlying lack of focus, perhaps some poor planning, or simply being caught in a frustrating cycle of unproductive work that feels endless.
It certainly sounds like a very frustrating and demoralizing state to be in. All that expended effort, all that busyness, for no real, tangible result to show for it. It's very much like running on a hamster wheel, isn't it? You're definitely moving, using energy, but you're not actually going anywhere new or making headway.
Yes, you're right. It often conveys a strong sense of frustration, wasted effort, and futility. It's essentially about being extremely busy without being effective or productive in a meaningful way. This situation can easily arise when you're feeling overwhelmed by too many demands, when you're disorganized in your approach, or when you're attempting to juggle far too many things at once without a clear, prioritized plan of action.
That makes perfect sense. So, to give another example, if a student is trying to study for multiple important exams simultaneously by just flicking through different textbooks for a few minutes each, perhaps rereading the same paragraph over and over without absorbing it, and not deeply engaging with any one subject for a sustained period, they are probably just chasing their tail and not really learning effectively or preparing adequately.
Exactly. That's another excellent illustration. It's all about that unproductive, often chaotic, flurry of activity that doesn't lead to the desired outcome.
Okay, so to chase your tail means to be very busy doing many things, but achieving little or nothing of actual value, ultimately making no real progress on important goals. A very useful idiom indeed. Are you ready to hear Mia and Mark use this idiom in their conversation, Emma?
I certainly am. Let's listen in carefully. I wonder which one of them, Mia or Mark, is feeling particularly busy but unproductive in their daily activities.
Oh, Mark, I am so utterly exhausted. I feel like I've been running around all day long, constantly dealing with one supposedly urgent email after another, attending back-to-back meetings that could have been emails, and trying to respond to what feels like constant interruptions from every direction. But when I actually look at my main project tasks, the things I really needed to get done, I've hardly made any progress at all. It's so disheartening.
I know that feeling all too well, Mia. Some days are just precisely like that, aren't they? You're incredibly busy from the moment you start in the morning until late in the evening. But at the end of it all, you look back and genuinely wonder what you actually accomplished of any real significance or lasting value.
Exactly, that's precisely it. It feels like I've just been chasing my tail all day long. I've been constantly responding to other people's priorities and demands, putting out numerous small fires here and there, but my own important work, the critical tasks that really need deep, uninterrupted focus, have been completely neglected as a result. It's so incredibly frustrating to feel so busy, so run off my feet, yet ultimately so unproductive.
It really is one of the worst feelings. When you're constantly chasing your tail like that day after day, it's incredibly hard to feel any sense of achievement or satisfaction from your work. Perhaps tomorrow, Mia, you could try blocking out some dedicated, non-negotiable focus time in your calendar, turn off all your notifications, and really try to concentrate on just one or two key project tasks without allowing yourself to get sidetracked by less important things.
That's actually a very good idea, Mark. I really need to find a way to break this exhausting cycle of just chasing my tail and actually start to make some meaningful, visible progress on my main goals and responsibilities.
That was an absolutely perfect example of the idiom in action. Mia vividly described her day as chasing her tail, meaning she was incredibly busy with many small, seemingly urgent tasks and frequent interruptions, but crucially, made no real progress on her important project work. This perfectly highlighted the unproductive and frustrating nature of her activity throughout the day.
Exactly, Jack. The idiom perfectly conveyed her deep frustration at being caught in that whirlwind flurry of activity that, despite all the effort, didn't lead to any significant accomplishment or forward movement. And it was clear that Mark instantly understood that feeling of being exceptionally busy without being truly effective.
It's certainly a very common and highly relatable idiom for describing those frustratingly unproductive days that I'm sure many of our listeners have experienced at some point.
It most certainly is. So next time you find yourself incredibly busy, rushing from one thing to another, but not making any real tangible progress on what truly matters, remember this useful idiom. You might just be chasing your tail.
And we genuinely love to hear about your personal strategies for avoiding chasing your tail. How do you manage to stay productive and focused amidst all the distractions of modern life? Please do share your valuable tips and tricks in the comments section below this episode.
That's a great idea, Jack. Let's move on now to our second colorful idiom in this episode of Idiom Insights. This particular one is all about making a mistake, often a rather significant one.
Indeed it is. Our second idiom for you today is drop the ball.
Drop the ball. This phrase immediately brings to my mind various sports, like baseball, cricket, or even American football, where literally dropping the ball is a clear mistake that can have quite serious negative consequences for the player and their team. Is the general meaning similar in everyday language, Jack?
You've absolutely got the sporting connection perfectly, Emma. That's precisely where it originates. To drop the ball means to make a mistake, to fail to do something important that you were specifically responsible for, or to neglect your duties or responsibilities, often resulting in a significant problem, a setback, or a complete failure. Just like dropping the ball in a crucial game can lead to losing a vital point or even the entire match, in a general context, if someone drops the ball, it means they've made a notable blunder or failed in a key aspect of their responsibility.
So it's primarily about a significant error or a failure that occurs due to negligence, carelessness, or perhaps even incompetence. For example, if someone was specifically responsible for sending out important invitations for a major event, but they completely forgot to do it, or did it too late, and as a direct result, very few people attend the event, then that person has clearly dropped the ball.
Precisely. That's a classic scenario. Or, to take another example, if a project manager fails to secure a necessary permit or license on time, despite it being a critical task, thereby causing the entire project to be delayed significantly or even canceled, they have most certainly dropped the ball on a crucial element of their job. The idiom strongly implies a failure to perform a key responsibility effectively, often with quite serious negative repercussions for others or for the overall objective.
It sounds like it's usually used to describe quite a serious mistake, not just a minor slip-up or a trivial error. It's about something that was clearly your responsibility, something you were trusted to do, and you failed to deliver on that expectation, letting others down.
Yes, that's generally true. It often refers to a failure in an area where you were specifically expected to perform, to take care of something important, or to follow through on a commitment. This failure can, and often does, lead to disappointment for others, significant problems for a team or organization, or even the complete failure of a larger objective or project. It's fundamentally about letting the team down, in a very real sense, by not fulfilling your part.
So, building on that, if a company consistently promises excellent customer service as part of its brand identity, but then repeatedly fails to respond to customer complaints in a timely or satisfactory manner, they are effectively dropping the ball on their core service commitment to their clientele.
Exactly right, Emma. In that scenario, they are not fulfilling their stated responsibility to their customers, which can have long-term negative consequences for their reputation and business.
So, to summarize, to drop the ball means to make a significant mistake, fail to do something important that you were responsible for, or neglect your duties, often with negative and far-reaching consequences. Are you ready to hear Mia and Mark use this particular idiom, Jack?
I am indeed. Let's listen in to their conversation. I wonder who has made a significant mistake or oversight in their story this time.
Oh, Mia, I feel absolutely terrible right now. I think I've made a huge monumental mistake with the detailed arrangements for the upcoming client conference next week. It's a disaster.
Oh dear, what happened, Mark? You were personally in charge of booking the main venue and all the catering services, weren't you? That's a very big and crucial responsibility for this event. Is there a serious problem?
There is, unfortunately, a massive problem. I successfully booked the main conference hall, that part is fine, but I completely and utterly forgot to book the smaller, essential breakout rooms that we absolutely need for the afternoon workshop sessions. I just foolishly assumed they were automatically included with the main hall booking, and I didn't double-check the contract details properly.
Oh no, Mark. And the conference is scheduled for next week. That's cutting it very fine. Are the breakout rooms still available by any chance? Have you checked?
That's precisely the worst part of it, Mia. I called the venue first thing this morning as soon as I realized my dreadful mistake, and all the suitable breakout rooms are now fully booked by another large event taking place on that same day. I completely, totally dropped the ball on this one, Mia. I had one absolutely crucial job to ensure all the necessary spaces were secured well in advance, and I failed miserably. Now we don't have anywhere suitable to hold the vital workshop sessions.
Oh, Mark, that is indeed a very difficult and unfortunate situation. It certainly sounds like you really did drop the ball there with that oversight. What on earth are we going to do now? We absolutely need those workshops for the conference to be a success.
That dialogue very clearly and effectively illustrates the idiom. Mark readily admitted that he had dropped the ball by completely forgetting to book the essential breakout rooms for the client conference. This means he acknowledged he had made a serious and critical mistake in his responsibilities, an oversight which now directly threatened the overall success of the important event.
Exactly, Emma. The idiom perfectly captured his failure to fulfill a crucial part of his assigned task, which directly led to a significant and pressing problem. It also powerfully highlighted his sense of responsibility and remorse for the error he had made.
It's undoubtedly a very common and direct way to talk about making a significant mistake or failing in one's duty, often used when acknowledging one's own shortcomings.
It most certainly is. So the next time someone makes a notable mistake or fails to do something important that they were clearly responsible for, you might indeed say they dropped the ball.
And we'd be very interested to hear if you've ever, and let's be honest, we all do sometimes, dropped the ball on something, big or small. What exactly happened, and more importantly, what did you learn from that experience? Please do share your stories and reflections in the comments section below the episode.
That's a wonderful idea, Emma, and very brave of anyone who shares. Let's move on now to our third useful idiom in this episode of Idiom Insights. This particular one is all about giving permission or approval.
Indeed it is. Our third idiom for today's discussion is give the green light.
Give the green light. This phrase immediately makes me think of traffic lights, where a green light clearly and unequivocally means go or proceed. Is the meaning of the idiom essentially the same, Emma?
You're absolutely right on the mark again, Jack. It comes directly and unmistakably from the universally recognized traffic signal. To give the green light to something, or to give something the green light, means to give official permission, authorization, or approval for a project, plan, or action to begin or to proceed to its next stage. Just as a green traffic light signals that it's safe and okay to move forward, this idiom signifies that all necessary authorization or approval has been granted.
So it's fundamentally about getting the official go-ahead, the necessary clearance, or the formal permission to start something new or to move forward to the next crucial stage of an ongoing process. For example, if a dedicated team has developed a detailed proposal for an innovative new project, and senior management carefully reviews it and subsequently approves it, then that management team has effectively given the green light for the project to commence.
Precisely. That's a perfect corporate example. Or consider a different context. If a writer submits a completed book manuscript to a publishing house, and after careful consideration, the editorial team decides they want to publish it, they will then give the green light for the entire publication process to start, encompassing editing, design, printing, and marketing. The idiom strongly implies that any necessary approvals have been successfully obtained, and there are no further significant obstacles to proceeding with the plan.
It certainly sounds like it's very often used in a business, organizational, or governmental context, where formal approval from a higher authority or a governing body is typically required before action can be taken. It represents that crucial, often eagerly awaited moment when a well-laid plan can finally be put into concrete action.
Yes, it's extremely common in those more formal contexts. You're quite right. But it can also be used a bit more informally in everyday situations. For instance, if a group of friends is enthusiastically planning a trip together and they've been waiting for everyone in the group to confirm they are definitely able to go, once the very last person confirms their availability, you could quite accurately say that they've all given the green light for the trip to be booked and for the detailed planning to begin.
So, it's all about that final, decisive authorization or agreement that allows something to proceed without further delay. It's the signal everyone has been waiting for.
Exactly. It's the clear and unambiguous signal to go ahead with confidence.
So, to succinctly recap, to give the green light means to give official permission or formal approval for something to begin or to proceed as planned. Are you ready to hear Mia and Mark use this idiom in their dialogue, Emma?
I am indeed. Let's listen in carefully. I wonder what specific project or ambitious plan is getting the much-awaited approval in their conversation.
Mark, I've been working diligently on that comprehensive proposal for the new employee wellness program for weeks now, doing all the necessary research, meticulously calculating the budgeting, and carefully outlining all the planning stages. I finally presented it to the HR director and the finance committee last Tuesday.
Oh, the employee wellness program. Yes, I definitely remember you talking enthusiastically about that, Mia. It sounded like a really excellent and much-needed initiative with lots of genuinely good ideas for significantly improving staff well-being and morale across the company. So, what did they ultimately think of your proposal? Are they going to support it and provide the necessary resources?
Well, to be honest, I was a little bit nervous because it does, of course, involve some new expenditure for the company, which is always a point of scrutiny. But I just received an email this morning from the HR director, and it's wonderful news. She said that both she and the entire finance committee were very impressed with the thoroughness of the proposal and the clearly articulated potential benefits for everyone.
That's absolutely fantastic news, Mia. So, does that mean it's officially approved then? Can you actually start implementing the program?
Yes, it's really happening. She explicitly said in the email that they have officially given the green light for the entire program. We have the full budget approved, and we can start rolling out the first phase as early as next month. I'm so incredibly thrilled and relieved that all that hard work and meticulous planning has finally paid off, and we can finally move forward with it.
That's truly brilliant, Mia. Huge congratulations to you. It's always such a great feeling when a really good idea, something you've poured your heart into, finally gets the green light and the support it deserves. I'm absolutely sure it will make a big positive difference for everyone working in the company.
That dialogue perfectly and clearly illustrates the idiom in a very relatable context. Mia delightedly announced that senior management had given the green light for her employee wellness program. This meant, of course, that they had given their official permission and formal approval for it to proceed, crucially including the allocation of the necessary budget to make it happen.
Exactly so, Emma. The idiom perfectly signified that crucial moment of authorization that allowed her well-developed project to move from the often lengthy planning and proposal stage into the exciting implementation phase. It was, in essence, the definitive signal to go ahead with full backing.
It's certainly a very common, clear, and widely understood idiom for indicating that approval has been granted to proceed with a plan or action.
It most certainly is. So, the next time a significant project or a well-thought-out plan gets official permission to start or to continue, you can confidently say that it has been given the green light.
And of course, we'd love to hear about a time when you were personally given the green light for something exciting or important in your life. What was it? And how did it make you feel? Please do share your positive experiences and stories in the comments section below this episode.
That's another wonderful idea for engagement, Emma. Now, we've arrived at our fourth and final idiom for this particular episode of Idiom Insights. This one is a rather well-known and somewhat philosophical proverb.
Indeed it is. Our final idiom for today, a saying that often sparks debate, is ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. Now, this is a very famous and frequently quoted saying. It seems to strongly suggest that not knowing something, particularly something unpleasant, can actually be better for you, or make you happier than knowing the full truth. Is that the fundamental idea behind it, Emma?
You've captured the essential essence of it perfectly, Jack. The proverb "ignorance is bliss" means that the state of not knowing about unpleasant, worrying, or potentially harmful facts or situations can paradoxically lead to a state of happiness, contentment, or peace of mind, which is what bliss refers to. It suggests that sometimes being unaware of certain harsh realities allows you to remain untroubled and cheerful, whereas knowing the full truth might cause you significant stress, anxiety, unhappiness, or a burden of responsibility.
So it's based on the idea that what you don't know can't directly hurt you, at least in terms of your immediate emotional state or peace of mind. For example, if there's a lot of complex political turmoil happening in a distant country that doesn't directly affect your daily life, some people might consciously choose not to follow the news about it too closely, perhaps thinking to themselves, ignorance is bliss, because knowing all the distressing details would just make them feel anxious, helpless, or sad without being able to change the situation.
Precisely. That's a very good example of how it can be applied. Or try to imagine if you were acutely aware of every single tiny potential risk associated with all everyday activities, from crossing the street to eating certain foods. It might make you too scared or overly cautious to do anything at all. In some specific cases, not being constantly aware of every conceivable potential danger allows you to live more freely and with less worry. The proverb essentially suggests that knowledge isn't always a positive thing if its primary effect is to bring worry, fear, or unhappiness.
It's certainly an interesting and somewhat counterintuitive concept, especially because usually, in most aspects of life, we highly value knowledge, awareness, and being informed. But this particular proverb candidly acknowledges that sometimes knowing less can indeed lead to greater personal contentment or tranquility, particularly if the truth is painful, overwhelmingly complex, or completely beyond your control to change or influence.
Yes, you've touched upon a key aspect. It's often used when someone genuinely prefers not to know the intricate or upsetting details of a potentially distressing situation, or when they are observed to be perfectly happy and content in their lack of awareness about a certain problem. However, it's also important to note that this proverb can also be used ironically or critically to subtly suggest that someone is deliberately choosing to ignore important problems or inconvenient truths, and that their bliss is therefore based on a willful refusal to face reality, which might be seen as irresponsible or short-sighted in the long run.
That's a very important distinction to make, Emma. So, if someone, for instance, deliberately avoids learning about the negative environmental impact of their consumer lifestyle choices because acknowledging it would make them feel guilty or require them to make difficult changes, their resulting contentment could indeed be described as a case of ignorance is bliss, but perhaps not in an entirely admirable or commendable way from an ethical standpoint.
Exactly. The specific context and the speaker's intention really determine whether the phrase is used to describe a harmless, perhaps even enviable state of happiness, or to critique a willful and potentially problematic avoidance of responsibility or reality.
So, to put it concisely, ignorance is bliss is a proverb that means that not knowing about unpleasant, distressing, or worrying things can sometimes lead to a greater sense of happiness or peace of mind. Are you ready to hear Mia and Mark use this rather philosophical saying in their conversation, Emma?
I am indeed. Let's listen in. I wonder what potentially unpleasant knowledge one of them might be preferring to avoid, or perhaps wishes they didn't know.
Mark, I was just looking very closely at the detailed nutritional information panel for those new healthy snack bars that we've all been eating quite regularly from the office vending machine. And honestly, Mark, it's a bit shocking, to say the least.
Oh, really? What's wrong with them then? They taste pretty good, I have to admit, and the packaging makes them look so incredibly wholesome, natural, and good for you. I've been having one almost every single afternoon as a pick-me-up.
Well, according to this very detailed label, they are absolutely packed to the brim with sugar, almost as much as a regular chocolate bar, if you can believe it. And the actual natural fruit content they boast about is minimal, practically negligible. Plus, they have a surprisingly high amount of hidden fats and a long list of artificial additives. It's quite misleading, actually.
You're kidding me. Seriously? I genuinely thought I was making a much healthier choice by eating those instead of, say, a biscuit. That's so incredibly disappointing to hear. I almost wish you hadn't told me, Mia.
I know. I felt exactly the same way when I first read it. Sometimes, Mark, when it comes to things like tempting snack foods or little treats, maybe ignorance truly is bliss. I was definitely much happier eating them every day when I didn't know what was actually in them. Now I'll probably feel guilty every time I even look at one in the vending machine.
You're absolutely right, Mia. It was certainly much more blissful, much more carefree, not knowing the rather unappetizing truth about those supposedly healthy bars. Well, I guess it's back to bringing an actual apple from home for my afternoon snack then.
That dialogue clearly and amusingly illustrates the idiom. Mia, after discovering the rather unhealthy truth about the snack bars they had all been enjoying, aptly suggested that perhaps, in this case, ignorance is bliss. She meant, of course, that they were all considerably happier eating them when they were blissfully unaware of the unpleasant nutritional facts.
Exactly so, Jack. The idiom perfectly captured that common human feeling of sometimes wishing you didn't know something because the newfound knowledge has effectively spoiled your previous enjoyment, contentment, or peace of mind regarding that thing. It beautifully highlighted the idea that sometimes not knowing the full, unvarnished truth can indeed be more comfortable, at least in the short term.
It's definitely a very common and often highly relatable proverb for those many moments in life when the truth turns out to be a bit disappointing, inconvenient, or just plain unwelcome.
It most certainly is. So the next time you find yourself, perhaps only fleetingly, happier not knowing certain unpleasant or complicated details about something, you might find yourself thinking, even if just for a moment, that perhaps ignorance is bliss.
And of course, we'd genuinely love to hear your personal opinion on this rather debated proverb. Do you generally agree that ignorance is bliss? Or do you, like many, always prefer to know the truth, no matter how unpleasant or challenging it might be? Share your thoughtful perspectives in the comments section below this episode.
We always thoroughly appreciate reading your insightful comments and diverse perspectives. Well, Jack, we've successfully explored 4 more really insightful, practical, and useful idioms in this packed episode of Idiom Insights.
We certainly have, Emma. It's been another fascinating journey through the nuances of English. Just to quickly recap for everyone tuning into Idiom Insights today, the 4 expressions we learned were:
firstly, chase your tail, which means to be very busy doing many different things, but achieving little or nothing of actual value or substance.
Secondly, drop the ball, meaning to make a significant mistake or fail to do something important that you were clearly responsible for, often with negative consequences.
Thirdly, give the green light, which means to give official permission or formal approval for something, like a project or plan, to begin or proceed.
And finally, the proverb ignorance is bliss, which suggests that not knowing about unpleasant, worrying, or complex things can sometimes lead to a greater sense of happiness or peace of mind.
Those are 4 more fantastic and highly practical additions to your ever-expanding English idiom collection. Remember, dear listeners, the absolute best way to truly master these versatile phrases is to actively listen for them in everyday conversations, in movies, on TV shows, and in your reading. And then, crucially, to gain confidence by trying to use them yourself in appropriate situations and contexts.
Absolutely spot on, Emma. Practice is undeniably key when it comes to internalizing new vocabulary and expressions. Don't be afraid to experiment and incorporate them into your speaking and writing. The more frequently and naturally you use them, the more comfortable and second nature they will feel to you.
And if you genuinely enjoyed learning with us today on Idiom Insights, and we sincerely hope that you did, please do consider giving this episode a like, and if you have a moment, leaving us a positive review on your preferred podcast platform. Your wonderful support truly helps other dedicated English learners find us and join our friendly and enthusiastic community.
And please make absolutely sure you hit that subscribe or follow button for Idiom Insights so you don't miss out on any of our future episodes, where we'll continue our mission to demystify the wonderful, sometimes witty, and always fascinating world of English idioms. There's always more to explore.
Thank you all so very much for joining us today. It's truly been a great pleasure exploring these common and useful phrases with you all.
Keep learning, keep listening, keep practicing, and we'll look forward to talking to you again next time on Idiom Insights.
Goodbye for now, everyone.
See you later.